welcome to the 22nd Leadership Levels lecture by Vakul Agarwal, who is the Vice President Growth at Licious. And I'm sure you would have, every time you have visited the modern retail stores in your own hometowns and everywhere in the country, it has become a permanent fixture for Licious to be there on all the aisles of at least the food-related aisles of the whole zone of these modern retailers. And most interestingly, what you would have witnessed, which is very rare, but then you would have witnessed is the kind of point of sale marketing that happens at the aisle itself. That is something that is very interesting for a very new, I would say, challenger brand like Licious. And we have the pleasure of having and hosting Mr. Vakul himself, who has been leading from the front on this growth journey. And he has got a very interesting and very exemplary profile. He's a BTech from IIT Bombay in civil engineering. And after that, he started his career with McKinsey as a business analyst, where he was there for almost about 1.5 years' time. After that, he went on to work with American Express as business consultant. After which, very interestingly and very engaged, he had very rare. He was the mentor at Atal Innovation Mission for almost 3 years, where he was a mentor of change for Atal Innovation Mission by Niti Aayog. And like I said, that and when engaged, get these opportunities, a very, very rare kind of thing. And that speaks very highly about the kind of skill sets and the kind of approach that he brought to innovation as such. And then he had spent quite a lot of his time, almost about 6 years and maybe 6.5 years kind of thing in Grofers, which is again one of the very upcoming. It was till the time it was recently quiet, but otherwise it is his where he worked for almost 6 years, 6.5 years kind of thing. He started as marketing in digital marketing analytics, and he went on to become the head of growth by the time he moved on to the current role. And in the current role, he takes care of various things, but most importantly, he takes care of the responsibility for top line, that's the GMV, gross merchandise value, and retention for growth, right? And then this is something that he has been doing both in the previous company as well as this company. And also he has got quite a few awards, and the two most important awards that I can call out are, one is Digital Leader of the Year in Retail in 2018 by the all famous Internet and Mobile Association of India. The second one is he was also recognized as top 50 influential digital leaders in India in 2018 by the CMO Asia and World Marketing Congress as influential digital marketing gentlemen. So let's have the pleasure of welcoming Vakul for this wonderful evening learning session on the product market fit. Over to you, Vakul.
Thank you, Nagendra, for the wonderful introduction. Right, my introduction never felt that great. Thanks for making that great. Right, but thank you everyone for participating. I hope this little session at least helps you in some way or the other. The topic of discussion for today is around product market fit. So I'll delve into that aspect only for now, and later on would love to take any questions that any one of you would have. Right. So the first thing that I wanted to start with is, what do we generally mean when we say product market fit, and how do we know whether a company has hit a product market fit or not? So these are the two aspects that we'll cover first, right? So starting with, what is a product market fit? So product market fit in very layman terms, I would define is there is a existing problem that exists in the system, that consumers may feel that particular problem, or a business might feel that particular problem. Now, an organization tries to solve that particular problem in such a way that user is willing to pay for the solution that the organization has unlocked. Right? And most of the adoption of that product or service is organic. It is marketing efficient way of scaling that business. It is not marketing extensive. Right? So that is how I would define a product market fit. Just to give you an example, so that it becomes very easy for you guys. We have heard the likes of Zeptos and Blinkits and Instamarts, which have surfaced very recently. So to define a product market fit in that scenario would be that all of them are trying to solve a particular aspect of giving convenience to users. For example, I want to make Maggie right now, and I don't have Maggie in my house. Right? I don't want to wait, or I don't want to go out and buy a pack of Maggie. It'll be very convenient if someone gives that Maggie to me in 5 or 10 or 15 minutes. So that is what exactly these guys are trying to solve, which is the convenience part of needing something really urgent at this point in time. Right? And the validation, whether they've hit a product market fit or not, would be three things. One, whether the retention of the users that they've acquired is good enough or not. The way I'll define retention, at least in their scenario, would be if 100 people are shopping in this month, then out of those 100, how many people shop the next month? So what is my repeat percentage? So that is important. If my retention is high, that is one tick mark for my product market fit. The second thing that we need to ensure to see whether product market fit has been hit or not is the NPS, which is Net Promoter Score. Net Promoter Score is nothing but a simple question that you ask your users, which is how likely are you to recommend the product to your friend or a family member? That's the simple question. And the rating is from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest rating that you will definitely refer, and 1 being the lowest that you will not refer at all. So if the Net Promoter Score is high, then it is again a tick mark that product market fit could be attained. The third important factor which ensures that, okay, product market fit has been attained or not, is the organic acquisition. And when I say organic acquisition, it is how many users are using your service organically just because of good word of mouth, etc. And whether it is sustainable or not. You should not be investing heavily in marketing to grow the business. So that is the third sign. So just for everyone else, and just to be very clear, 3 signs that I spoke of. 1, retention. How is the retention looking for the business? Second, Net Promoter Score. How many users are likely to recommend the business to their friends and family? And the third, how good or bad is my organic acquisition? These 3 factors combined will tell whether a product has hit a product market fit or not. The other thing that we need to also be very cognizant of is that, for example, if you say that I have hit a product market fit, right? It does not mean that you are guaranteed a success in future. You might hit a product market fit right now, but it does not guarantee success in the future. I'll give you a very typical example of this case. There was this manufacturer, in fact, they are a manufacturer of phones even now, called BlackBerry. Right? It was a rage, BlackBerry phones. It had a keypad, and everyone used to use those keypads to type and send messages. Like, it became a huge rage because there was this community called BB Stars or BB community, right? They can message each other using the phones. And it actually did hit the product market. Right? BlackBerry was selling good number of smartphones. They were not smartphones back then, but cell phones at that point in time. But slowly the market graduated towards touchscreen phones. Right? And BlackBerry, just being very content of their strategy, saying that we would want to stick to a keypad-led phone, chose not to go in that way of a touchscreen phone. And slowly and steadily, they just lost relevance in the market. And now, out of whoever is attending this meeting, I don't think any one of us would own a BlackBerry phone, right? So what I mean to say is, even you might have hit a product market fit in past, doesn't ensure that you'll guarantee the success in the future. And the reason for that is consumer wants and needs evolve with time. Right now, we'll be satisfied with a touch screen phone which looks something like this in my hand. Probably in future, it might not be the requirement, right? My want or need would change because someone would innovate a much better mobile phone, which everyone would want to migrate towards. Right? So that is why it is always important to gauge how the consumer needs are likely to change, right? And whether my product will be suited basis the needs or the evolvement in the consumer need or psyche. So these two things we should always remember. I'll give you another example of Licious, that why does Licious exist in the first place, and whether we have hit a product market fit or not. I'll also answer that, right? Just to make things very clear. Right? So Licious exists because we saw a gap in the Indian market that most of the meat requirements in India are unorganized. Firstly, people don't like the buying experience when they visit an offline vendor. The experience is not that great. Second, there is no standardization. Like, I don't know where did the said person source their products. I have zero know-how. It's just that I know that guy probably, or my dad knew that guy for a period of time. So there is this trust, but no one wants to visit and buy from that particular place. It's not pleasant. So we did two things to solve. One, we said that we will standardize the sourcing. That our products, we will grow our own products. And hence everything would be standardized. There's the standard quality that we will set. The second thing is that we will give a packaging or we'll package our products in such a way that it'll feel good, right? It'll not be in a black polythene. It'll be in a pack which will look good and people should be happy consuming that. Because essentially someone is eating that product, right? And what goes inside a body is much more critical than what we wear or what we wear as a watch or what phone we are using, right? So that is much more important for our health, etc. So with these two premises is what Licious started. First, never to compromise on the quality, and second, that people should not feel bad while carrying these products, right, in a black polythene. Have we hit a product market fit or not? We have not. I'll be very blunt. We have not hit a product market fit because our retention rates are not that high, although we are at a good 60-65%, but we would still want to stretch it 20 or a 75 number. Our organic acquisitions are really high, but our NPS is again not as high as global benchmarks that we set for ourselves. So our strive would always be to ensure that we attain this product market fit by three things: by ensuring that the product is top notch, by ensuring that the delivery experience that you get is top notch. When I say delivery experience, if you order from Licious, you should get a delivery experience which is equivalent to a delivery experience of, say, Swiggy Instamart. You get it in 30 minutes once you order. The third is the assortment. Whatever you want, you should get it on Licious every single time. Right? Whatever your requirement is. That is again one aspect of the product market fit in our scenario. And the fourth is the product, the place where you buy it, the app. Once you open the Licious app, you should feel good about that, right? The user journey should be flawless. Whatever you want to search should be very easy and very intuitive for you, because that is the storefront for us. So your app needs to be top notch, your delivery experience needs to be top notch, your product quality needs to be top notch. Right? So these are the different aspects that will create a good product market fit for us. And similarly for each and every B2C company in India or elsewhere. Any questions here, guys? Happy to take it right now as well, or could also take questions after the entire session is over.
Maybe I think Vakul, maybe after your initial remarks and your presentation, maybe we can have all the questions together, if that's okay with you. Just to ensure the flow, nothing else. If that's okay with you.
Sure. I think that makes sense. The one thing that I also want to cover is the misconceptions about product market fit. And it is important for us to discuss this because product market fit essentially defines whether the company or the organization would be successful or will it not be successful. Right? So the one misconception on the product market fit would be, at what scale are you measuring whether you have hit a product market fit or not? And I'll again give a context of Licious, for example. So when you are solving for a few thousand users, right? You have required only a few thousand users, and you see retention is very good, NPS is very good, organic acquisition is very good, and you believe that you have hit a product market fit, right? And you scale your product or service. Then you reach a 1 million user base, and then you were like, yeah, I I I think something is wrong. My retention is not the same. My net promoter score is not the same. Right? Even my organic acquisition is not the same. So you need to be very cognizant of the fact that with scale, the definitions of your product market fit are bound to change. Like, for example, if I am a luxury motor brand, say BMW, right? I appeal to a certain audience only. I can't assume that my market share would be as high as Maruti because that is not the segment that I can ever crack, right? So you have to be very cognizant of the scale at which you would want to operate and what is the product and what is the target group or consumer that you are targeting in the very first place. So that is where you should start defining or going deep into what product market fit would look like for your product. Right? And hence, it is very essential to understand the need or the problem that you are trying to solve for what consumer. Not every business will try to solve things for everyone. Exception could be a grocery business because everyone requires groceries, right? But a product will have a target audience, and within that target audience, they will have defined personas. Whether I am talking to affluent users, whether I'm talking to mass users, whether I'm talking to not so affluent users, etc. So that needs to be taken care while going after your product strategy. And lastly, I would also want to talk about few examples which I think are great examples of a good product market fit. Right. The first one I want to mention is I'm not very sure if all of you would have used that product or not, but there is this product called Karava, Saregama Karava. Right. What they've done is they've made a hardware wherein they've put some 5,000 old songs and they've given it a shape of a radio, right? And they appeal to audience which used to use radio and just made the product very convenient for them to use, right? And the kind of success that product has seen is an example in itself, right? In the world wherein we are all living in virtual memories, etc., right? I can save so many songs in my phone. They created a hardware which is almost 20 times my size, the size of the phone, but yet people are buying that. Right? There's a very good nostalgia feeling to it, and people are really happy, right? If you look at the NPS of that particular product, it'll be probably beating the benchmarks of even global products. So that is one example of good product market fit. They understood their audiences really well. They knew what they wanted, right? What kind of songs they wanted, the genres that would go on the product, etc. They did it really well. The second, if you think of an example which solved product market fit really well, would be the likes of Uber and Ola. Right? A very typical problem. I want a taxi. I find it very hard to get a taxi. I live in Bangalore. It's very hard even to find one in Bangalore, even after Uber and Ola. But a very classic example, right? Very simple solution. Organic acquisition through the roof. Is that if you give good enough service, then the retention and NPS and organic acquisition will never be a problem. So again, a great example of a product market fit. How to scale businesses without less marketing or with less marketing costs, with a very high retention for their business. So this is what I wanted to cover with you guys. but want to keep good 10-15 minutes to take questions, because I know you guys would have some questions for sure.
Thank you, Vakul. Really appreciate your time. And let me start with this one. I think we already have a few questions, but maybe I'll relay them all of them to you.
Sure.
And before that, I think one of the good companies, correct me if I'm wrong, is that I think globally known for its product market fit has been IKEA, because it has been continuously working, because there's a Harvard case study which actually talks about how these guys actually have been finding it out, because they source this product. I mean, completely different model altogether. I mean, because the sourcing model is different, and therefore they have to work with this product market fix. In fact, they call this a product market matrix actually. And the same thing I believe is also applied for Zara as well, because again, in the case of a fashion industry, the kind of global, the trends. In fact, it's very difficult to also make a distinction between fads and fashion kind of thing. But then. But it also wants to make sure that all the products that it has been creating, because it has been able to shorten the supply cycles and ensure that all the things fly off the shelf in the shortest possible time. So from your point of view, I think since you have had a wonderful experience in this one, so how do you think the companies like maybe in especially in the industry of IT, right, software, and now of course we're talking about data science and AI and ML kind of thing. How should they go about doing this kind of product market fit, because it's so evolving and it becomes what is fashion today might become fad in tomorrow's time.
So, like I said, right. So one thing that one will need to look for is the consumer trends, the future consumer trends, to a good degree of certainty. Like I said, fashion is very hard to even predict. Whatever models you make, it's so hard to predict that what would be in fashion today might go out of fashion tomorrow. Right. So that's a very difficult sector, and hence you will need to know the pulse of the consumer really well. That the trends and the Gen Z or whatever group that you are trying to go after, that okay, this is the trend that might really work, and you need to experiment. If you go all eggs in one basket, then you are likely to fail anyhow in the category which is fashion. In the IT sector, it becomes a little easy, is what I would say, because you will be trying to solve a particular problem, be it for businesses or for consumers.
Right.
That problem would be known to you. Once that problem is known to you, you would try to solve it in such a way that the reaction of the consumer or the business is pro. And when I say pro, again, these three things. How is the business, or if it is a consumer product, are reacting to your product, whether they are giving you rage reviews or they are not liking the product anyhow. Whether if you ask them to rate the product, or whether they will be happy to recommend the product to their friends or family or to other businesses, what is the likelihood of that? Again, that will be a score for you. So I think in the IT setup, things would be a little easier and will mirror the three matrices that we talk about. But in something which is very hard to even predict, it becomes a nightmare, right? In fashion, it will genuinely be down to experimenting and then seeing whether something is working or not. With knowing the possible trends in future, not ignoring that, some degree of certainty, but also doing multiple experiments to figure out that, okay, I am on top of my game and no one else would do so many experiments as I can pull off. And my know-how of consumer will always be superior to my competition, is how I will put it.
Good. I think I have two more questions before I get to all of our, the participants' questions, Vakul. One is that, as a counter argument to this one, I think it was Steve Jobs who always said that if ever have thought of market research, I wouldn't have created any of the Apple products. So he never cared for any of this market research, product market. I mean, what do you call it, right? Because I think it's largely intuitive, it's largely passion driven, and it's largely absolute innovation driven. That's one part of it. Other question that I have is that I think we definitely have a scope for fitting this product market fit idea into most of the industries. But then there is one industry which is completely outside the realm of either market research or kind of thing. But it is full of innovation, although. And definitely, we are seeking from you, how does this product market fit in the film and entertainment industry? Because you look at any director, or for example, let's say you look at RRR, the recently successful blockbusters, or for that matter, KGF 2, or any other movie, right? But the point is that those things are actually born out of a creative idea. So therefore, how do we largely fit this product market fit into the creative driven industries,
No, I
especially
think
the
I
entertainment?
think it becomes very easy for the film industry, in my view, like because the kind of insights that goes in making a film is probably much more superior than what consumer work that we do in our businesses. Just to give you an example, right? Trends which are heavy right now, right? Just a blanket thought, if I were to ask, probably nationalism is one thing that is very heavy in the current scenario. You see so many films coming up in that sector anyhow in last 1 year. Right? So films in that view are they can actually play on trends really well, right? And it becomes easier for them. For example, there'll be few sentiments on which if you make a movie, then it is bound to succeed. Genres, right? If you make an art movie, then everyone knows that it is bound to fail. For example, Sanjay Leela Bhansali made a really good art movie right now. He already knew that, okay, he will not do much business. From that perspective is what he released the movie also, right? Similarly, if someone is creating an RRR, they know the kind of grandiose film that they're trying to make, right? Again, read on nationalism to some extent. They've brought in that nationalism factor to the entire movie, and then created some really good action scenes and sets, etc. So I'm saying in the film industry, it becomes actually easier because you know the trends that are actually live right now, or because these trends don't die. And nationalism as a trend will not die in next 3 or 6 months. And normally nowadays these guys make movie in 3 or 6 months easily. Right. So I think that ways it becomes easier for the film industry to, at least to my mind. I could be wrong though, but that is how I look at it. On the first question, what was the first question that you had? Sorry, I
It's
forgot
about as a counterintuitive argument to this entire product market fit idea, Vakul. We're just referring to the grandiose idea of Mr. Steve Jobs, who had the audacity, whatever we call it, humility, whatever we call it, say that he never cared for market research. He said, had I followed the market research, I wouldn't have created any of the products that have come from Apple's staff. So
No, I
therefore,
I see. There are two aspects to it. Like one is to identify a problem. I always identified a good problem. Like iPad was such a. He identified the problem. You know the story, right? The story was that he was not very close to his daughter, right? And his daughter visited him in his office by wearing ear Walkman. Walkman was popular in US, so she was listening to songs on a Walkman, which had wires, and it was tucked in her shirt or something, right? After seeing that, he got an idea that what if I build a product for you, wherein I'll create this much of a product and it'll have so many songs that you can't even imagine your Walkman will ever have. You will never need to change CDs or cassettes. So he identified the problem, right? And the solution was so much better than the existing solution in the market that it was bound to be, in this case of an iPad or I don't even remember what it was called. Right. The iPad is what iPod. The iPod was so much better than the existing solution in the market, and they priced it also in such a way that it was always aspirational. That all the three things that we talked about, which was organic acquisition, it was a tick. Recommendation, friends were recommending the product left, right, center. It was a tick. Retention, people who bought an iPod after it got somehow faulty, etc., bought an iPod only, right? Never migrated to a Walkman. So I think to solve, you can be audacious, right? But to identify the problem, you will go to consumer, you will watch consumers, right? That is how you identify a problem.
absolutely.
You need to understand consumer trends. You need to say, okay, this is the gap that I need to solve. And that is how even an iPhone, a touch screen, was invented by those guys, right? and they identified the problem. They wanted to move away from a keypad. They said that it's very tiring to type on a keypad, right? What if I have a big screen and I just give the ability to type it on the screen itself?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we have a few questions from our participants. Let me have the first question for you.
Sure.
It is from Mr. Ashish Moitra, and his question is, respect to sir, thank you for the webinar. Technological disruption and cannibalization of service and product. How does it affect the 3 points of retention, net promoter score, and organic acquisition? Thank you, Ashish.
So essentially, disruption and cannibalization of service. Ashish, possible for you to give me an example so that I can actually pinpoint your question and answer it? It'll just help me.
Ashish, if you're there, if you can unmute yourself and you might like to. Okay, I think maybe I'll request him to put it there, Vakul, and let's move on to the next one. And this is the question from Swati Mansharam Mani, and her question is: owing to customers being flooded with ads every minute, flickering attention span of customers affect the customer retention. So, I mean, that's.
No, I get the question, but I think Swati, you're mixing two things. See, one is acquisition or acquiring a user to use your product. One is retention. Once a user has already used the product, whether he or she is using the product again and again or not. Being flooded with ads, I completely agree. It messes up with your top of mind product. But what I'm trying to answer here or ask you here is, if you open an OTT, which one do you open? For me, it is Netflix. It is top of my mind, right? So irrespective of whether Amazon Prime is showing me X number of ads or Hotstar is showing me X number of ads, the top of mind product for me on the OTT space is Netflix. Similarly, there will be other services. For example, what do you use, Ola or Uber? Right. There would be one favorite. I'm very sure out of these two, it will be difficult. But which social media platform do you choose? Is it Instagram? Is it Facebook? Is it LinkedIn? Is it XYZ other? There'll be one product which you would like the most. So that is what I'm talking about, right? How do you create that one product in that category which you like the most?
This is a question from Kumar Vishal, and his question is: how do we find product market fit before launching a product? Thank you, Kumar.
Yeah, so the way is to make a minimal viable product, which is essentially, if I were to launch a product to solve convenience, which is what Zepto and Instamart are trying to do. One way would be to launch a product which is not a fully baked product, but trying to see that if I am a Kirana shop, just making a hypothesis there, assume that I am a Kirana shop and I serve 100 households through my Kirana shop, right? Now, if someone orders on phone and I have the capability of shipping things to their household, how much more business am I getting in that particular location as a shop owner? That would be a good minimal viable product for a quick commerce platform. So you just need to think narrow so that you're not spending money doing the same thing. I'm solving convenience, right? I'm a Kirana shop. I'm solving convenience. And I'll start taking orders on phone. I'll deliver it 10 minutes. And I'll see what is the uptake in my business. And then you do it in scale. From one shopkeeper, you go to 3 to 4 to 10. And then is when you say, oh, this is working. This is actually working. Let's build a full-fledged product for this.
Thank you. This is a question from Mr. Soumendra Datta, and his question is, now we have been noticing extensive advertising by even so-called allied brands of different products who were conservative enough in the past to be available for commerce market. What's your opinion about diversification with regard to strategies? Thank you, Soumendra.
See, advertisement, different brands are doing it. I completely agree. The sign of product market fit is that the brand should not be dependent on marketing investments in the very first place. Right. What I'm trying to say is, if there is an Apple and a Samsung and a Xiaomi and a Vivo and a God knows what, right? Then what is the marketing investment that a brand needs to do to maintain their market share? That is where it boils down. right? You might say that all of them are advertising really heavily, but I'm asking, what is the percentage of advertisement spend to revenue that they spend? And if they don't spend, whether their market share will come down or not. So that's the question that you need to answer. Marketing spends and investments will always be there in the market, right? The poorer your product market fit, the higher your marketing investments would be. Let me put it in that way.
But I think let's come back to Mr. Ashish Maitras. I think he has got the addendum to this question. He's remember the first question that he was asking about is the technological disruption. So his idea is technology disruption like BlackBerry or Nokia, and for cannibalization related to the tech like 3G, 4G, 5G kind of thing.
So technical disruption, for example, BlackBerry and Nokia, you need to understand the trends and right. You need to build for the future trends that consumers might migrate towards, or do experiments which at least is one step or two step ahead than what you already have. If someone else is solving those steps better than you at a faster pace than you, then obviously you will lose in the longer run. Similarly, in the space of 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, right? Be the first one to innovate in that particular sector. If you are catching up with the player, then you already are losing in that particular game. Right? Again, the kind of service that you provide, right? Even if you are 5G and the service that you're providing is not up to the mark, then it is of no use. It is better to have a 4G and provide a service which is substantially better than rest of the competition. I'm saying be the innovator in that category rather than being a chaser in that category. You should innovate at a pace which is faster than any of the competition out there in that particular space.
Now, this is a question from Jarin Thomas, and his question is at the very outset. Great session, Vakul. We are a service company in the area of data analytics and data science, but we want to take the journey towards building a product. Most players targeting large B2B customers, right? What are the areas we need to take steps on when we would want to launch a product in the span of next 2-3 years? Thank you, Jarin.
I think the first thing is be very sure on the area that you would want to make your product, right? Yeah, just be very doubly sure. What is the client base that you will be able to cater to once you are making that product? That needs to be thought through, because once you start making your product, then there is no going back, right? So I think for me, because I don't understand the space really well, it'll be hard for me to comment. But the one thing that I were to do if I were you would be just to spend time and understand whether I should be building a product for this particular category or this particular set of B2B players. And this is the space I would want to. For example, I'm a growth guy, right? There are many marketing automation tools that people are making, and there are n number of marketing tools coming even now, right? Then would you want to be in that space or not? How do you think that you can beat the best product which is in the market for that space right now? Whether you have these sources or resources to beat that product or not. Those are the kind of questions that you should ask honestly. And if you have a yes to them, then you should go. If you are very dicey, then you should not.
Thank you. Hope that answers your question, Jarin. Now, this is the question from Mr. Amitabh Srivastav, and his question is how to continuously differentiate with competitors like Tendercart or Swiggy or Zomato.
Three things, like I said, I need to have a app which is better than Zomato and Swiggy. I need to have delivery times which are equivalent or better than them. I need to have an assortment which obviously would be better than them because they are not in our category. And the fourth thing is the quality control, right? The quality that we sell should be so much superior than whatever is available in the market at a price which people would want to buy, not at a price which is very expensive. Also, knowing our TG. Am I selling to the masses or am I selling to affluent set? That is very important.
Now, this is the question from, in fact, two questions from Mr. Shah, and his first question is product when launched in the beginning, it caters a lot for customers. It cares for a lot for customers, but later point of time, customers gets irritated with the behavior of individuals or company. Best example is Ola and Uber. And his second question is in Licious, do you ensure the product is fresh and it's not old kind of thing? That's what his question. These two
So
questions.
first is you should never get to a stage wherein you are irritating your consumers, because the stage when you reach there, you know that you are not close to product market fit. The reason it happened with Ola and Uber was because they were not able to scale their services with the scale that they saw in the growth, right? There were complaints, the driver behavior was not that great, the quality of cabs was not that great, which is a failure on the organization level, right? Not a failure of the idea that they started with. And that is why I said, right, with scale, you will find it even harder to manage product market fit. In terms of Licious, the way we manage is we have a processing center in each of the cities that we operate in. From the processing center to the hubs that we have in middle of the cities to the end consumer, it is only 2 day shelf life, right? We pass one day shelf life to consumer so that they can consume the product at their end. And if anything goes beyond this, we dump it. We don't sell it. So we have a very high wastage cost. We sell it to B2B players, right? We don't dump it, right? But we don't sell it to consumers, which is our B2C unit. So anything beyond 2 day is wastage for us. And that is how we ensure that anything and everything that is shipped out from a Licious hub is always fresh. And by the way, every supply chain from the processing, even to the sourcing, to the processing, to the hub, is maintained at a 0 to 4 degrees centigrade always. If there is single breach, then the entire lot is discarded. Right? So the quality aspect for Licious is very high, and that is why you will see Licious products are always little expensive than the market, just because we have an entire processing plant which is unique to us in the entire country. No one in the country has a processing plant.
Absolutely. I think other part of it, whatever I've seen, Vakul, is that, I think I've seen a lot of people, my colleagues and other people also using, you have this, sandwich spreads. I think they come with very different flavors. And so therefore, how do you actually go for, I'm sure it's an extension product market fit, but then how do you actually end up, doing that product innovations? Because I'm sure a lot of process must have gone to it, right? Because it's all about ingredient mix, and then ultimately it's all about ensuring that the customer is going to is going to really like the taste of it. So how do you ensure that? I'm sure there must be some testing, and there must be some sort of there for
we have a big lab. We have a big innovation lab wherein we test more than 100 products every quarter or so. We make new products. We go to consumers to take their feedback, right, and then see whether they're happy, not happy. Then we scale it in few geographies. We again collect feedback. If people are happy with the product, then we launch it pan India. If they're not happy, then we again go back to the drawing board, again create more products. It's a cycle. It's not a one thing, right? You create 100 products, only one product goes to consumers at that scale. So it's more experimentation and then testing whether people are liking it or not.
So just go back to your example. One of the examples that you quoted, Vakul, is about Car1. Now, or paperboard, for example. I think these two parts, if you see, the product market fit has come because of the very interesting proposition of they connecting to the retro, in the sense they are connected with some emotions, right? Something that has happened in the past. So from that point of view, is there any attempt from Licious to look at, because every state, right, it has got its own flavor. It has got very sought after flavor in terms of meat. So therefore, is there any attempt to cater to that side of the consumer need?
The consumer need on the
the retro part of it. What our grandmothers used to make, or old.
So we are. So for example, we are now. I can't give more details, but there are interesting launches that are planned, and some of it is to do with those grandparent or prior to that recipes, right?
Right.
Even very specific cuisines which are very regional. So we are getting into that. For example, I'll give you one very small example because it is about to launch. We are launching our own biryani, right? But that biryani is not with rice. It is a biryani mix. So we say you should make your own biryani because everyone makes the best biryani at their own. Right? You use the mix that we have created, put in your own rice, and then create the best biryani that you make.
That'd be
But the
awesome.
mix is what we have worked on religiously. Yeah.
Absolutely, that's good. So here's a question from Mr. Prem Kumar. His question is: as we see the market is dominated by Chinese products playing solely on price point, how does the market in India, how the Make in India product can get the top three elements: retention, NPS, and organic acquisition to compete with the price points?
Cool. Sorry guys, I'm running late, so I'll need to drop off. But I'll take this one.
Sure,
Nagendra.
make it last one.
So see, it really depends on the market that you're playing, right? So price point will cater to a market which is masses, right? Which will not really be concerned by the quality of the product, the longevity of the product, or the brand of the product, right? And hence it'll become a price point will be important for the masses. But as you move up the ladder, for example, if I talk about people who are in NCCS A1, which is a classification that we do, people who are running above a certain household income in a year. Now, will they go for a price point, or will they also look whether the product quality, longevity, the brand associated is also good or not? So there the line becomes tricky. So just to give you a very classic example, Micromax existed in one point in time and they were very successful. Right now, they don't exist. As a classic example of what you mentioned, sir, a Chinese player became successful and lost relevance. So that is the risk that you were always up to when you're creating that kind of a product, which is only price point led.
Thank you so much, and sorry if you have taken a little
completely
time, Vakul. Extremely sorry, but really appreciate your time, and it's wonderful to have you and your thoughts on this very interesting topic of product market fit. Because I think this is one such topic which is going to be, like you rightly said, it's going to be always there. Whatever product, whatever industry, whatever the service sector. But I think it's going to be there. Thank you so much, and really appreciate it.
Thank you, Nagendra. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. And sorry, I'm running a little late. So, but
thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Really
thank you, guys. Bye.
Thanks.